Okay, I'm out here in the car after 3 days of Lord of the Rings extended screenings. Not every theater had it, of course. I wish one of my closer theaters had nicer chairs, because first day I was fine. Sitting down for the second day, oh, it got sore. And now I'm just like bearing with it. If you've seen the Lord of the Rings, of course, if you originally saw it in theaters, the original run, then you had the DVDs, then you got the extended. There's no touching the series of war, epic, high fantasy, whatever you want to call it, because it's just like an achievement, an accomplishment, yet to be replicated. There's been many attempts at similar things, I guess. The Hobbit itself was an attempt. That didn't quite work as well. So let's just get that out of the way. I saw it way back when it first came out, then I rewatched it on the DVDs, then I watched it extended and stuff like that. That being said, I've never actually seen Return of the King extended. I did see the first bit. Saruman gets Mortal Kombat fatality'd off a building onto a spike, and that was all like, that's metal as shit. So that's kind of the only thing I know from the Return of the King extended, outside of being like, oh, the mouth of Sauron is also going to be there, and he's like all teethy and stuff like that. But I haven't actually seen any of it. I don't know why. I think I may have like popped my head in and watched someone watching it years ago and just never got around to it. I have seen the original one extended once before in theaters. I think it was like Ontario Place was doing it on the big sphere. I think they actually had a break in the middle, right when Pippin goes, where are we going? You know, at the Council of Elrond. And that's kind of where they put like everyone take a break, stand up, take a breather. They didn't do that this time. They blasted the whole way through. So tip number one, if you're going to watch the Lord of the Rings extended, any one of them, though they kind of get longer and longer and longer. This one started at 3:30 and we just got out at like 8 o'clock now. So that's been like 4.5 hours of movie, plus like a little preamble video from Peter Jackson. But if you are going to see an extended Lord of the Rings in theaters and you don't want to miss anything, as soon as you get to the theater, do as any good parent on a road trip does and say, do you got to use the bathroom? And if you say no, say, try anyway. Don't bring a drink in the theater unless you really need like a little sip just to keep your mouth not dry, as Frodo was on the mountain when he's like, oh, there's not enough water in this thing. And I did have a drink with me, but I was being very cautious with it. You know, I wasn't like chugging a family-size big gulp from concessions. In fact, I didn't buy anything from concessions. Sorry guys, but I was trying to save money and also not make a lot of noise, because day one, this has nothing to do with the movie. Day one, I'm just like, I'm here to enjoy some Lord of the Rings, and it's been a long time since I've been in movie theaters. I don't really go that often. If I do, it's usually a quieter, smaller audience film. This was pretty full. My ears were full of just munching nonstop. I'm starting to understand people like, you know, the Red Letter Media crew when they talk about like the death of movie theaters, and I kind of understand it, being like, yeah. On the one hand, you have all this like, when you go to the theater, you know, you join the experience and you laugh together, and you cry together, and feel together, big screen, big sound, rumbly seats, all that. Yeah. But when you're watching a movie, all you hear is goddamn munching in your fucking ear during like important dialogue or emotional scenes. Or if you're as lucky as I was and you have like the biggest nose breather in the world next to you who's just like the whole time. I'm like, just use your mouth. Do a little. I had to kind of just tune it out after a while. Neither here nor there. I understand the death of theaters. that's my point in that. So let's just do this little quick recap and talk about it. So I'm not going to go too much on like what's great about it. If you've seen it, you love it, you know it. It's an accomplishment, it's an achievement, it's incredible. It's the costumes, it's the music, it's the characters, it's the story, it's the moments, it's the seriousness and the humor and the action and the excitement and this and that, and some good CG and some great practical effects and models and stunts and different scales of actors. I'll just delve a bit into my thoughts on the visual effects and CGI. For the most part, hold up. The main times that they don't is whenever a character is kind of like ragdolly or being thrown around, or basically anytime Legolas does something wicked cool, like jump on top of this thing, slide down that thing, it's just there's something weird and rubbery about it. Whenever people get like thrown by a cave troll or something, or flung or knocked off screen, I don't know if it's like the motion blur applied to the effect or just the human ragdoll just it's not weighty enough. It's just very light and loosey-goosey. I don't want to talk too much about the technical stuff because overall it's a marvel still. Like again, I've watched every behind the scenes that there was on all the extras, because those DVDs are film school. If you haven't watched every single behind the scenes feature on all three movies, at least like the original trilogy DVDs, let alone whatever they added on the extended ones, like it is film school. It goes in deep. Every other DVD in the waning era of physical media was just like a featurette where it's just like, it's so fun to work with the director. It's the first time I get... And then, like, you might be lucky there's one nerd with glasses being like, I did a CGI thing, and then it cuts back to something else being like, look at the actors, talk to the actors, Jesus Christ, get away from the nerds. At least the Lord of the Rings goes so in deep that you start to get to know the people, and you're like, holy shit, is that the bigoture guy? What's going on? And Howard Shore, I don't know. Maybe you don't really see him as much Howard Shore, but you get to see, like, the actual blood, sweat, and tears that goes into productions, let alone all the injuries and stuff that you hear about. And, like, there's other stories that sometimes you hear later. Like, in the opening preamble, Peter Jackson was talking about Viggo Mortensen got, like, hit in the face with a surfboard. And this was, like, leading up to the shoot of them being like, they've got a cave troll. And so he pointed out, anytime you see Viggo inside that cave troll sequence in the first movie in Moria, he's only shot from, like, this side, and it's just, like, a little thing that you might not have noticed. As far as, like, things I noticed, like, I'll catch continuity errors and stuff every now and then, but it's, like, it's not distracting. You know, some guy's hand was over here, and then it's over there in the next shot or whatever. It's like, that's fine, whatever. What I just want to talk about is more narrative things and a couple things about the extendeds in themselves. It's not about whether they're a good idea or not. Like, I think they're awesome. If you're a fan of the content, it's like, great, more of that. But not just as like, here's a list of stuff that was cut. You get to watch it in no consequential order. It's woven back in. To its positive or to its detriment, that's what we'll talk about in a second. All 3 films across these 3 days were the extended editions. I will say a lot of the scenes are like, yeah, more of my favorite characters doing things. Well, that's cool. Whether or not it's like more book accurate or stuff, I can't really say too much. I haven't really read it, so I won't appreciate it from that angle. But pacing, writing, editing, I could see stuff where it's like, I see why that was cut. Like, that's nice. It's nice to have this little moment and we see a little more about these characters, but it's like, I see why you could cut that and no one would notice. You aren't just like, I feel like something's missing. At most, it's like, wait a minute, where did Gandalf's stick go in the third movie? It's like, oh, Witch King came and broke it, and then Witch King ran off and did something else, I think. Happened in the original movie. I think they just ran straight up to be like, oh, that guy's gonna burn the other guy, you gotta stop that shit, and then he just doesn't have his staff, for whatever reason. Or he does, I don't know. So I'm using up gas, keeping this car warm. Maybe I'll turn off the car for a second. Yoink. Still on. And now let's just turn on the auxiliary. Cool. At the very beginning, probably the most genius thing is just having Cate Blanchett narrating the story of, like, just to give you what's up, how things go. You could have had Gandalf do it, you could have had Elrond do it, you could have had Bilbo do it, I don't know. Which would almost make sense, because Bilbo's, like, writing a book, so why wouldn't they have him be like, oh, in the first age, like, maybe there's a past where that did happen. So she's kind of like, just kind of an aside enough a character, but still a powerful, important enough character that, like, she can narrate. Though there is, I do take umbrage, not like, offended. She's like, so 3 rings went to the elves. They're awesome. They're so fair and cool. Look at their hair. And she's like actually one of them. So whatever. This is why you're like, is she talking about herself, or is this just an omnipotent narrator? Just happens to be the voice of Galadriel. And then she's like, and then a bunch of rings went to those dwarves, and they're so cool. They dig and shit. And then some went to the human, and they suck. Fuck them. They want power, bitches. It's like, whoa, dude, give us a chance. Man, the time of man is coming. You guys are really not setting it up to be a good time. You're just shitting all over it. It's like, what do you think was going on with the dwarves? They're all digging too deep, and they release some Balrog. But, like, they get all like, yeah, dwarves are cool. They can fucking dig some shit. I don't give a fuck. I'm glad you'll lick my balls. You know, like, what is this narration all about? But she also says it with such disdain. She's like, who above all require power. Could have added, like, a sound effect or like a horn going. They shouldn't, but they could have. I'm just going to kind of point out weird things that either I've always thought about or things that just stuck out to me this time around. Oh, there's some people getting in a car behind me making some noise. Don't mind them. The extended version, of course, shows more about what Isildur did, where he's like, he got off a horse and then he jumped in the water, he got shot in the water. Yeah, I can see why you cut that, but it's like, it's nice to have it back in. I'm sure Howard Shore is like, fuck me, I already timed out the music. All right, let's just add like a bassoon or an oboe or something in between where he's like, Isildur's band. I think the punchiness of the original cut is, I like it better, where it's just like, and then one day he's on a horse and he's like, Rrr! He's like, oh, fuck. And then, like, it hard cuts to him just, like, dead. Arrows in the river or whatever. It's like, that's pretty cool. And then, like, that's why I think if you haven't watched any Lord of the Rings films yet, it's like you're bringing your kid into it, even just for the sake of, like, sanity of, like, sitting there and staring at something for, like, 4 hours, I would suggest the theatrical cut first, just to be like, this is punchy, it's to the point, there's a lot of lore to get through, we don't need to like keep chewing on it. But again, once you've already seen it, I think it's cool to be like, your second pass is now like, oh, there's extended content, that's kind of cool. You know, it's kind of like you play like New Game Plus, and then you kind of have a bunch of the equipment you already had, and then you get access to stuff that you didn't have access to before, but you wouldn't appreciate it much at the time. You're like, oh, this is cool. I now see like, oh, there's more stuff. But again, not just thrown in as like a behind the scenes, this was cut from the film, and it's like that dailies quality where like they didn't finish it. It's got this kind of like gray flat look to it. Once it's like, and holy shit, all this happened, and now it's time for Fellowship of the Ring, and like the title reveal comes up, because the movie always does like a narrative on black screen or something like that, and then says Lord of the Rings, and he's like, na, 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 na. And then you finally get the title of the individual movies after like a nice shot of painting or something. And the original theatrical cut, nice fade into like green forest, Frodo's there reading, and then he meets up with Gandalf. You're like, I like that. And so in the extended, of course, as we all notice the first time we watch it, it's like, oh, now it cuts to Bilbo writing in his book, and he starts just yammering on about who the hobbits are and stuff like that. So it's like, it's all good stuff. It's a different way to do it, because then eventually does get back to that shot of Frodo sitting in the greenery. But like, again, I maybe it's a nostalgia thing, but I like the punchy, clean ease from hard like narrative. It's like, and then the fate of this and that, and then we go to like nice greenery, and it's like Frodo's hanging around. Of course, they add in all the stuff with like Sackful Baggins and things like that. Kind of briefly allude to that in the original cut, but they don't really dwell on it. They extend all the scenes of like the Sackful Baggins being like, I'm at the door, where are you, Bilbo? I want your house, yeah, old bastard. They bring those characters back in during the actual party, and it just kind of extends the pacing out where it was definitely punchier and funnier before. I think they kind of shove it in between Merry and Pippin grabbing the fireworks, and then it cuts to like Frodo and Bilbo being like, oh, you gotta hide me. He's like, yes, I'm selfish, my boy. I didn't take you in when your parents died because this and that. You're like, the fuck? And then it cuts to Merry and Pippin being like, you wanted to light it. This is your idea. Oh no, it's on fire. Take it outside. And in the original cut, they take the fireworks, and then we cut to them lighting it. It's like, I liked that. That was smooth and simple. So again, there's certain things where you're like, okay, this is interesting extra content for the extended. I see why it was cut for pacing, be it for humor or just, you know, levity, or not having a party scene just get dragged down out of nowhere, because it kind of gets dragged down at the end where it's like party's going to kind of be ruined by Bilbo leaving. So like, why do we have a dip before to lead to that? They kind of bring back some levity in that scene where he's like, have you been in the Gaffer's Ale? He's like, no, well, I have one. Kind of thing. It's like, silliness. And it's like, anyway, whatever, let's go back to fireworks. And then it kind of all plays out like normal. So earlier I was talking about, if you're going to watch the extendeds, make sure use the washroom beforehand. I did. And then I had to go again at the point where Sam stops walking near the Scarecrow, and he's like, this is the furthest I've ever been. And I was just like, but I toughed it through. I just sat there and be like, like, how long is the... Oh, you know, I also want to do some general notes. Ringmates. Nazgul. The old kings. Was there 9 of them? I don't remember. 4, 7? They suck at their job. Let's just get that out of the way. Remember in Adventure Time, there was this creature who had like approximate knowledge of everything. So he's always like just slightly enough wrong. So he's like, he knows approximately where Finn is, and he's always missing. The point is, it's like the ringmates get so goddamn close to the ring every time, and then just miss it. He's out there sniffing right above a tree, and they're all just there, and then they huck a bag of mushrooms, and then he's like, you know, he runs off, and presumably he just kept going because they just hucked the bag like 5 feet over that way at most, and then it's like they never see him again. They have enough leeway to like scurry off somewhere else, and he just did not notice. Like even the horse was just like, hey, they're this way. To bring it to the most recent one that I just saw, Return of the King, friggin' Frodo's like right outside the Ringwraiths clubhouse, the little green jello town or whatever that place is. He's at their front door like, what'll-do? And they're like, Frodo, cut that shit out, get out of the way. And the door's open, and there's like, oh, nothing, I guess. And it's like, my God. Like, let's look at the kill count. The Ringwraiths, like, I think, killed 1 top hat hobbit for some reason. I don't know what they had against that guy, because he wasn't really in their way. Like, they did nothing to the dude who's like, there's no baggage over here. And it was just like, yeah, all right, see ya. And then the other guy's like, hey, I got a lamp. And he's like, fuck that. Zoop. So yeah, the Ringwraiths suck shit at their jobs. They're not very good at what they do. They're always like approximately near the ring, but they just miss it. It's kind of like, you know, like sometimes when you're using like Google Maps or something like that, you're in the 3rd lane, but it thinks you're in the 2nd lane. It's like that, basically. From then on with the extended, there's some nice stuff which is like, look, Frodo, it's Bilbo's trolls, remember these guys? They're in the stories. And since that was already mentioned, being like, there I was about to be crushed by trolls, it's like, it's kind of cool to at least allude to that. So like, even if that was in the original cut, people wouldn't be like, what the fuck is he talking about? Like, trolls, what was this? Some other book we haven't read or made a movie about yet? It's like, yeah, it was from The Hobbit. But like, he kind of retold that little bit to the kids, and that scene was in the original cut. So like, I wouldn't have minded seeing like, look, it's this trolls. So we get to the Council of Elrond. I'm jumping ahead a bit. They added a speech for Boromir when he gets up, because he kind of gets up, sits down, and then gets up again to say like it's a gift. Like, he kind of has like two little bits as opposed to, I think, originally one, where he was just like, it's our people's blood who keeps your land safe, give us the ring or whatever. He kind of gets up, it gets shut up, then gets up again and is shut up by someone else. It's like, it kind of felt redundant. So I think that was an addition, or was cut original for pacing for that reason too. I have a ton of notes in my head that like I might get to as I get through them. If you're into your Tolkien lore, I think technically Aragorn and Arwen are cousins or something. Anyway, let's not talk about that too much. Don't think about it. There's a whole thing where it's like elves split and man went this way, elf went that way. And hey, what's up? Keep it in the family. Uruk-hai. Okay, so Saruman is being all shitty. For whatever reason, his name is very similar to Sauron, Saruman. I know Tolkien did this all the time, like Arwen, Eowyn. It's one thing to have like the son of a character to be like Gimli, son of Bimli, son of Dimli. Sure, Biffin and Boffin and Dingin and Dangin, whatever, fine. But when like two completely unrelated characters have like the same name, basically, it's like, really, your two major female characters, Arwen and Eowyn, both have a very similar name. You can come up with one other. You saved Shelob for a big old spider, whatever. Point is, Uruk-hai. Now, Uruk-hai are presented to us as being like, you thought orcs and goblins and trolls and stuff were badass. Uruk-hai are like the ultimate. They will wreck shit. They can walk in the sun. They can just keep running. And they're mean and bad and whatever. And you buy it. But then like, they're pretty much all killed in one shot. Like Stormtrooper style, basically. James Bond villain style. You get shot once, punched once. That's all you need. They'll get back up. Aragorn just will whap one away and then whack the other away. And then one will get shot and then the other gets stabbed. And like, they're all down in one shot, even though they're like the toughest and they're armored to hell. And like, in theory, each one of them should take as long to fight as the final boss fight of that first movie. I've got stabbed in the leg, and this and that, and a choke and a punch, and a slow this, and his head just gets lobbed off in the end. It's like, that would make more sense if each of them took that much to fight. Saruman should have made less of them, but more like him. So there could have just been like 9 of them again. If you think like the Wraiths are badasses, these guys should have just been like, yeah, we sent 9 Uruk-hai out and they're unstoppable basically. It's kind of weird narratively to go from the first 2 movies where it's like all Uruk-hai and these are the hardest, the baddest, and then they all get shot once dead. And then in the 3rd movie, it's like, all right, there's no more Uruk-hai. So you're like thinking, oh, this is going to be easy. But it's just like, and now there's orcs. And they're just as easy or difficult, depending how you look at it, to kill as the Uruk-hai. It's all bob, knock to the side. Stab, shank, knock to the side. Arrow, knock down, head off. You'd almost think like the only reason orcs or goblins are difficult in comparison is because there's just more of them. But they're more cannon fodder. They should be more like cowardly, more like the grunts from Halo, you'd think, all these like goblins. And for the most part, they are presented that way. Like, goblins were the ones in the mines, because he's like, oh, there's goblins. And then like when they hear the Balrog, they all just piss off, because they're like, no, not doing that. They had all the heroes surrounded, could have just killed them right then and there, but then they heard the Balrog, like, nope, we're noping out. So that's just kind of like an overall tonally weird thing I've always found, where it's like, yeah, Uruk-hai, they don't stop running unless they do. They don't need to rest unless they have to stop and build a fire for some reason. Because even one of them's like, start a fire! It's like, why? Are you cold? You're Uruk-hai. You came out of Jell-O pudding. What are you? And that was just like an odd thought in general. So it's like the first 2 main disposable antagonists, mobs, or whatever you want to call them in video game terms, should have been like tougher and scarier than the 3rd movies, which were just kind of like the original goblins and stuff. And then you got like the big gooey guy, and there's a couple of them are more iconic than others, because like this one wears a guy's head for a hat kind of thing. That's nice. He stands out. Quick note on waterfall burials at lake, burials at pond, whatever you want to call it. When you send someone off a waterfall, from your perspective, it's like, all right, see ya. You died, love ya. I'm sure someone downriver is like, what the fuck? Jesus. I was going to go for a swim. There's Boromir in the water. Just because they're out of eye line doesn't mean they just like evaporated into like the warrior's realm and home of the fathers. It's like, yeah, he's just downstream. Anyway, I think it ends great. I think them splitting up and saying let's hunt orc is awesome. I think that's my thought on everything that happened in Fellowship. I still think Fellowship Extended is still tight. There's not too many scenes that kind of stood out to being like, oof, that kind of stretched this out a bit more than it should have. But there are, in comparisons, like I still kind of like better how it was in the first pass. Again, was it nostalgia? I don't know, but there's certain things that are just kind of like, yeah, that was tight, that was clean, I get it.
Will you look into the mirror?
What will I see?
Even the wisest cannot tell. I know what it is you saw.